Hey, hi, hello there, it's Alicia. I am going to actually do some teaching today, which is excitement. Oh, and look, I actually painted my nails. My hair is clean but wet and unbrushed, unstyled. I'm going to teach you how to do some basic eyeshadow. And I'm going to put on some moisturizer and some fancy yummy smelling droppies and let that soak into my skin, and I'm going to teach you a few things about eyeshadow that I feel like people who really love makeup, love wearing it, we as a community, if I can make myself be part of a community, we get it, and people who I actually hang out with in real life don't quite get it. And not to say there's anything weird about that. It's just that people who do makeup a lot get primer or concealer under eyeshadow. We get that boosts the colors. We get that using multiple colors, shading techniques will help enhance the look of our eyes to make them look bigger, make them look sexier, make them look bolder, pop the eye color, etc. And normal people who don't wear makeup often or do sort of more of a minimal everyday routine might not get it in the way that's intuitive for somebody like me who's now been playing with makeup enthusiastically for, I don't know, like a decade, maybe less, I don't know. But regardless, the people I actually hang out with don't wear makeup to the degree that I do, and when I do makeup on them, a lot of them tell me that they can't really, I'll teach them as I'm putting it on them, but they don't necessarily remember what I did, why I did it, where things were supposed to go. And I'm very blessed to have a diverse group of friends, right? They're not all just like light-skinned Caucasian like me. Some of them have much darker skin tones, have lighter skin tones, have different eye shapes, have different skin concerns and textures and so on. And I'm not a makeup artist, I'm just an enthusiast, but I would like to sort of share what works for me and explain why, and also just show you the technique for how I would put on eyeshadow. What I'm going to focus on in this video is using bare minimum 1, 2, or 3 eyeshadows to create an eyeshadow look. And so I'm not going to do my eyebrows or my skincare or anything to make everything look better. I'm just going to teach you eyeshadow basics. And I have a kit that I just got from BH Cosmetics with just eye brushes. And I want to show you some of those to explain that you can get very, very affordable eyeshadow brushes. I'm also going to show you how you can just use the tools that you already have at your disposal, presumably. If you are able-bodied in the way that you have dexterity of your fingers, then you can use that. If brushes are easier for you, I'll show you how to use brushes as well, but I'm going to go through just several things. I need to stop playing with my hair, but I probably never will. So, all right. I'm going to start by explaining primers or concealers as an eye base. This is not something you're required to do, so I'm going to show you without, and then I'm going to show you with. And I guess I'll show you one eye with eyeshadow primer and one eye without eyeshadow primer. And then I'm just going to use, let's see if I have a very basic eyeshadow brush. And I do. This is from Wet n Wild. It was probably between $1 and $3. I just got it at the dollar store. And so I feel like this is a good one to just use as a for instance. And in terms of eyeshadows, I also want to show you this with not very expensive products. I want to emphasize that for eyeshadow, you can get really, really good quality without spending a ton of money, but there are also some considerations of brands that will not cost you very much, but will also not be very good quality. So let me grab out a palette that would be under $20, and this should not take me too long. Let's see. I want to pick something that's accessible. I probably should have done this beforehand. What do you think? Okay. Let's go with These colors aren't gonna, okay, so the only reason I'm gonna tell you right now that I am not able to grab one really super quick is because I have been decluttering my collection and donating a lot of eyeshadow palettes and other makeup products to friends of mine. So as it's taking me a while to find something that's pretty inexpensive, I want you to understand that's not because I am biased against inexpensive products. It's just that I've been giving away an array of my makeup, including expensive and inexpensive stuff. So that wasn't me just being like, oh, I don't have anything expensive. I have plenty of inexpensive things. But let me show you this one because it's very cute packaging. And it still has some neutral colors inside, although the packaging is childish, question mark? Okay, so this is the My Little Pony palette from ColourPop. And I'll put the price up so you can see there are some fun colors in here, and then there's some very neutral everyday colors. There's a difference between matte colors like this peachy color here, which does not have a lot of light reflection to it, and shimmery colors like this peachy color, which has some additional reflect, so you can see this is more shiny, and then the matte one is not reflective so much. So you can do a single eyeshadow look with both of these kinds of shadows. And I'm just going to grab a makeup wipe real quick so that I'm going a little bit less crazy with cleanup in between steps here. I'm going to need this to clean off my eyes as well between steps anyway. Okay. So like I said, here is a matte eyeshadow and a shimmery eyeshadow. These are decently everyday colors for me. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you with no primer what each one looks like, just applied with a finger. So here's my matte eyeshadow. Just adding a little bit of color. And here's the shimmer one. Shimmer colors are often pretty easily applied with your finger. And when you apply just a single eyeshadow, it's nice to keep it down close to your lashes, covering your lid where you can actually feel your eyeball underneath. So that's just two examples. One is shimmery here, catching the light a little bit more, and then the matte side is here. So hopefully you can see the difference between those two just applied with a finger. And I wonder if I should show you each of these with mascara so you can see what it would look like as a look. That you can see was extremely quick application. I'm just going to use this Essence Lash Princess. This is also an extremely affordable mascara. I'm a little messy when I use it because it does give me a good bit of length and curl, so it hits my eyelids at times. But let's just show you these first, I guess. I'm not going to put on a butt ton of mascara, but if you did just want to use one eyeshadow and this was all you did, I don't think it would look the worst. I would personally tend to probably put on a shimmer. Look, see, it's all over my eyelid already. I would personally tend to do one eyeshadow look with more of the shimmer colors because I think that it gives you a little bit more punch and a little bit of dimension. You're not really supposed to wipe off mascara with a wet finger, but my finger just has a little bit of moisturizer on it, so I could do that. So here's the difference between the matte on my right eye, should be on your left, and the shimmery one on my left eye, which should be on your right. And I just have a single coat of mascara. This again is with no primer. This is just on my bare lids, so you can still see the veining and lack of even pigmentation on both of my eyelids as a base for that mascara, or sorry, for the eyeshadow. So now I'm going to remove that and show you what these eyeshadows look like. Oh, this is going to be a messy day. Look like over a primer instead of just on your bare eyelid skin. Again, bear in mind, if you have a different skin tone than I do, colors are going to look different on you. And you probably do have a different skin tone than I do because I don't know anyone who has an exact match of my skin. As far as I know, I do not have a twin. So in terms of eyeshadow primer, I'm going to give you two options, and maybe I'll just be fancy with editing and show both on the screen instead of having them be, you have to remember what things looked like before. But in terms of putting on a primer, you can either use a concealer that you already have, if you have concealer, or you can use a dedicated eyeshadow primer. They come in all kinds of different formulas, all different price ranges. I'm going to look and see what the first one I grab is. So hang on just a sec. Okay, so the first one I'm finding is this Smashbox 24-hour Photo Finish Shadow Primer. And this one I think is fine, but so are other ones. This is what it looks like on my finger, and if I just rub it over my lid, you'll see that this one does not have any color to it, meaning that it's not canceling out any pigmentation of my eyelid. It's just a formula that's meant to cling to the eyeshadows and give them a smooth base to apply over. So I'm going to show you, I guess I should just go ahead and do it with fingers again and stick with the same colors, I guess. So from this same palette, I'm going to go and show you with the shimmery ones. So I think it's this color right here. So I've got about this much on my finger, and here's my lid with no primer. And I usually keep it down on the mobile lid, meaning the part that basically touches my eyeball, as opposed to my brow bone up here. Okay, and so that's that from swiping and tapping. I'll do the same thing on the other eye. Okay, so the purposes of primer are to help increase the pigmentation of the eyeshadow you put on and also to increase wear time. You can see, obviously my eyes are not identical, but you can see the shadow on either side. Okay, and what I would typically do if I were wearing this as a makeup look for me during the day, I would take a fluffier brush, which is less dense, and this one's a little bit angled, but I would go ahead and take the matte color that corresponds, and I would lightly put it in my crease, which is the part of my eye you can see right there that folds. I would just lightly buff it there, and I would do that on both eyes. And this for me would be a 2 eyeshadow look. Pretty quick and dirty. And then I will, again, put on a super quick coat of mascara so you can see what that would look like if this were your 1/2 eyeshadow and done makeup look. There's mascara on this side and this side. Okay, so now you can see this side did not have primer. This side has a primer on it. I'll let you look and see what you think about the difference. Me just look at a mirror that gives me normal viewing distance. I'm not seeing too much of a difference on each side, but I know that primers can increase the longevity of wear as well. So on this side, I'm going to leave this on. This is the Smashbox Photo Focus Primer, whatever. It honestly, you don't need to spend $20 on a primer. You can spend $5 or $3 on a primer and get just as good of an effect. But let's say you don't want to buy a primer. You just want to use your concealer, which is the other option that I mentioned. So when you're just using a concealer, I'm going to show you that it can be very nice because it will both help your eyeshadow to stick. Cam's barking at the pest control guy. But it can also cancel out the pigmentation of your eyelids so that there's less of an interaction between the color of the eyeshadow and the color of your skin pigment. So this is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. It's a $6 concealer, so not extremely expensive in terms of concealers that are out there. And I'm going to apply a little bit to my lid. I'm going to use, okay, So now on the right side of my eye, I'm going to put a little bit of concealer. And I'm going to use this same inexpensive Wet n Wild brush, and I'm going to cover my entire eye. And I'm going to go from down where my lashes are all the way up to my brow bone. And you should be able to notice that this is canceling out a lot of the pigment on my eyelid just from veins and the translucency of my skin that lets you see the goop that's underneath my skin. And this is also a bit lighter than my skin tone, which helps the colors that go on top of it to pop. It's okay if your concealer is the exact same color as your skin tone. That's fine. But if you do have a color that's a little too light for you, it's nice to use that to prime your eyelids because it will help the color to pop on top. So now I'm going to go back into the My Little Pony, and I'm going to grab the same peachy shade on my finger, and I'm going to apply that with little tapping and swiping motions right on my eyelid. And I do kind of want to get a little bit more here. And I hope you won't be mad that I'm building this up a little bit more. So there's that. I don't want to do it too much because I want you to be able to see the difference. And then I'm going to go into the same brush that I used for my crease on my left eye, get a little bit, and I'm going to just lightly fluff that in the crease, just like I did on the other eye. So I'm not sure if people outside of the world of makeup videos have heard a lot about pigmentation of eyeshadows. Pigmentation refers to how much actual color is in the eyeshadow that you're putting on, or the blush or the lipstick or whatever. The less pigmentation, the more translucent the color is, and the more pigmentation, the more opaque the color will look against your skin. And if you're beginning with eyeshadows, you might prefer to use eyeshadows that are less pigmented so that you have more wiggle room to build up the color so that you don't end up with too much that you're not comfortable having on your face. So hopefully you can see now, this is the eye where I primed my eyelid with the No Filter Concealer from ColourPop. And I've got two colors on from the My Little Pony palette. This eye, you can see, had the Smashbox Photo Focus primer, and the application otherwise is the same. I've just got a coat of mascara on each eye, so hopefully you can see the difference. This brow bone does look a little bit lighter, and the base is more even in pigmentation than on this left eye here. So that would be how I would wear just one or two eyeshadows. And I'm going to also show you, so on the left eye, I'm going to take this off. This was our Smashbox Photo Focus 24-hour primer. And I'm going to show you getting these two eyes to match up, and then how I would add a third color or a third eyeshadow to bump this up a little bit. If you are comfortable wearing one or two eyeshadows, again, you can use a single eyeshadow on your entire lid, and you can blend it up into your crease a little bit if you have a crease. And if you would prefer to use two, you can keep the first one all over your lid and take the second one just into your crease. And that will give you a very nice daytime appropriate. No one's going to look at you funny for having too much on. But especially if you prime with your concealer, you're going to get a nice look that does pop a bit. You can keep it as sheer as you want. I usually do bring the concealer all the way into sort of where my nose bridge is here, because I'm going to want it to pair in with my foundation eventually. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same thing, but this time I'll show you with the brush instead of my finger if you're a brush using kind of lady. So I will just get it on my brush and then use little short tapping, dragging motions to apply the eyeshadow. And again, I'm going to keep the placement the same, just picking up a little bit more of that shadow. And I'm going to cover my entire mobile eyelid, which is all of the part here that moves, up to where you can see my natural creases, which is where that bend occurs when I look straight ahead. Wet n Wild has several of these brushes. They're actually quite nice ergonomically because there's a little divot for your finger. And again, I'm pretty sure this was like $1. Super quick. Cover that. And then this is just a Sephora sort of fluffy and a bit angled. You don't need that. Any sort of a fluffy brush, meaning it's less densely packed, will do. And I just very lightly buff that into my crease. I tend, when I'm doing my crease, I tend to stay to the middle to outside using my pupil, if I'm looking straight ahead, as the indicator of where the center of my eye is, and outside because it tends to be aesthetically pleasing if you have eyes that are narrower to the center of your face, to keep the light in the center and darker on the outside to create the illusion that your eyes are a little bit farther apart. If you have further apart eyes and you'd like to create the illusion that they're closer together, you can bring your darker colors closer in toward the center of your eyelid. So I'm going to go ahead and put on the mascara already, just so both eyes look the same to you as you're looking at them. They've now got the same kind of a treatment with a single color on the lid and one color very lightly put in the crease. And now a single coat of mascara. Okay, so looking at this, I would like to add one more color, and I'm going to add some depth to the outer portion of my eyes. I'm going to take either of these brushes, really. I'm going to go ahead and use this inexpensive Wet n Wild brush just to show you how I would do it. I'll also show you how you could do it with your finger. But I'm going back into the same palette, and I'm going to pick a slightly darker color. I'm going to go ahead and use this pinkish one so that you can see. The tone of this isn't super dark, but it is darker than this and this, which I already have on my eye. So I'm going to just grab a little bit of this on the end of my brush. You can see the pigment there. And I'm going to tap it on the outer corner of my eye on the lid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of look down at my mirror, and I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to tap it on my lid on the outer corner, which is where I usually divide my eyelid into thirds. So inner third, middle third, outer third. And I'm keeping the placement low on my lid, meaning I'm not going past that natural crease in my eye. And I've just built up a little bit more depth by doing that. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. And all I'm doing is just tapping that slightly darker color there. And grab a little bit more, get the two eyes to match as much as I want. I will sometimes go in back and forth sort of short dragging motions to blend the colors together. And now I have a 3-color eyeshadow look. So hopefully you can see all I've done is just add a little bit of extra color and dimension. And again, just a single coat of mascara. I think this is sort of a wearable sort of way to use 3 eyeshadows. I'm going to now remove this and show the entire thing to you again with only browns or neutral colors. So I'm going to show you again using the concealer as my base because that's sort of my favorite way to do it. It means that you can use the concealer you're planning to wear during the day as opposed to pulling out an eyeshadow primer or another product. So let's just remove this real quick. And I'm going to grab another palette. I'm going to try to find my Tartelette in Bloom palette because that's the one that I very, very frequently recommend to new makeup users because all of the colors are very neutral. The eyeshadows are not so pigmented that they're difficult to use, And the palette itself, I believe, is $42. I'll correct myself on the screen if I'm wrong. But you can purchase it when you've got a coupon or a gift card. You can always use Ebates to knock the price down, and sometimes it is on sale. Like I've seen it on sale in Ulta's 21 Days of Beauty event, knocked down to like $19 or $20 or $21, maybe it's like half off. So let's see if I can find that. Okay, so here's this one. This is the Tartelette in Bloom palette by Tarte Cosmetics, and she looks like this. These are the colors inside. It smells like vanilla. I'm going to flip it upside down just so the mirror's not bothering you. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 matte shades and 3 shimmers. The shimmers, there's one in each row going across. It's Funny Girl, Firecracker, and Rocker. And this is set up so that you can do a single look in each row across, or you can mix and match, which is what I do. But I'm going to show you how to do the same thing we just did with just 1, then 2, then 3 eyeshadows using this palette. And to keep it super, super simple, I'm going to show it to you using this middle row across, which has the colors Flower Child, Smarty Pants, Firecracker, and Activist. We'll use Smarty Pants in the crease, Firecracker on the lid, and Activist as the third color in the outer corner. So let me show you. First, I'm going to prime both eyes with the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. Again, $6, and I do it the same way every time. You don't want to put on a very excessive amount of product. You want this to be thin, and you want to just cancel out whatever discoloration you might have on your eyelids. Again, discoloration not meaning that there's something wrong with you, just meaning that your skin has translucency and might be showing the pigment of any veining that you might have in your eyes. Again, this is very skin tone dependent. If you have light skin, fair, or pale skin, you might have more of an issue with this versus somebody with more melanin in their skin who does not have issues with uneven skin pigmentation. But it's really just dependent on what your skin looks like, and I don't know, but I would advise you to just, consider this as a possible option if you do feel that you need your eyeshadow color to show up better. If you a little bit lighten and definitely cancel out the variations in color on your eyelids, the eyeshadows will have more of a chance to pop. So there is my ColourPop No Filter Concealer on both eyelids. And now I'm going to take this color Firecracker with the same brush. Sorry, I'm showing you too much. I'm going to take this color Firecracker on the same brush, which I'm just going to, I sometimes wipe it on my pants, I sometimes wipe it on a tissue, I'll wipe it on a washcloth, just to get any pigmentation off of it that I don't want. Sometimes I just use my fingers a bunch, but I'll take that color and grab a bit of pigment on my brush and apply it to my mobile lid, which again is the area on me below that crease, that fold that shows up in my eyelid when I look straight forward. I'm gonna just apply that with short little dragging motions, very much patting the color on. When I apply it, I generally start in the center of my lid and then go out to the sides. The first area on your eyelid that you place the brush down is going to be where you get the most pigmentation or opacity or color deposit on your skin. So there's just that single eyeshadow in Firecracker. On the other side, maybe I'll just use my finger just to show you for comparison's sake. So there it is on my finger, and I'm gonna tappy tappy, make my eyeshadow happy. Oh, sorry about my bangs. I don't know if I have a thingy here for them. I'll just try and get them out of the way. Just tapping on. Again, I start in the center and then I go out to the sides. Either way is fine. There are no real rules in makeup. I'm going to get a little bit more. Okay. just to show you what it looks like with just one color, I'm going to go ahead and put on my mascara now in case you're the kind of person who only wants to use one color. Show you what this would look like as a quote-unquote complete look. Oh, I just touched my eyelid again with the mascara wand. And I did on that side too. Let me see if I can just clean that up real quick. If you do that, or you're prone to doing that, it might be just that you're using too wet of a formula. A less wet formula might be a little bit more forgiving. And what we usually say when you get mascara on your eyelid is to let it dry all the way and then sort of just scrape it off with like a Q-tip. But for me right now, I'm just gonna mess it up with a brush because I can. All right, and get this little guy off on this side and then smooth out over there. Okay, so if you just wanted to have one eyeshadow, this is just one color from the Tartelette and Bloom palette. It's the color Firecracker. It is shimmery, and this would be what it might look like if you just wanted one eyeshadow and some mascara. I'm now going to add the color Smarty Pants, which is a matte brown, this guy right here, in my crease with, if I haven't thrown it on the ground, and I did, that same fluffy brush that I've been using. This one's from Sephora, but again, you could just use the Wet n Wild equivalent. That's not, I don't believe it's tapered or slanted or angled in any way, and that would work just fine. So I'm going to look down a little bit, and I'm just going to buff this into my crease, which is the area where it folds. I usually place it toward the outer half of my eye first and then blend the color in. And when you're doing this, you want to use pretty gentle touches with your brush. It should feel soft and comfortable on your skin. And I'm just buffing that out. And I'm going to do it on the other side. This is the amount of pigment that's showing up on my brush. I usually, again, start on this outer part, and I will slowly take it a little bit in. And when I say slowly, I just mean because most of the pigment has rubbed off on my skin by the time I start blending over here like this. And now I've got a 2 eyeshadow look. So I think this looks a little bit more polished. It's a little bit more blended out, and blending is something that makes your eyeshadow look like a professional did it, as opposed to if you have any edges that are very apparent, it's not going to look as seamless, and it will look more like you're wearing makeup. But you could see that that didn't really take a very long time to do just those 2 colors. And again, this is just showing you in a very neutral color palette, just 2 eyeshadow colors. So now I'm going to add the 3rd color, and I'm going to take this matte dark color called Activist. It's actually a dark brown, and I'm going to show you how I will take that and just tap it on the very outer part of my eyelid closest to my lashes and add a bit of depth. So you can, hopefully you can see where that placement is. My brush is a little wet, which is why the color is going on so dark. And now I'm going to show you how I would blend that out. So I'll take the same fluffy brush, and I'm just going to go over top of it in very short back and forth motions. And I often will flick it in toward the center of my lid more than I flick it out, because I don't want to end up with too much eyeshadow way out here. Okay, so that to me has built up a little bit of depth compared to the left eye, which only has the 2 eyeshadows. So now I'm going to show you on the right side, and I'm actually not going to add any more pigment to my brush because I feel like there's already enough there. And you can see this is already just going on a little bit less intensely because we've already gotten off some of the pigment on the other eye. But I am still going to go take that fluffier brush, blend it out a little bit, meaning doing very light touch. Like on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 is the maximum amount of pressure I can put on, and 1 is just barely touching. This is like a 2 in terms of pressure that I'm applying with the brush. So do not push hard. You don't want it to be like not even touching your skin, but you definitely want it to be soft and comfortable. So now you can see, I hope, because I can see it, that there's a little bit more dimension to my look. This is now with 3 very neutral eyeshadows. Both eyes are primed with the ColourPop No Filter primer, and both have the same exact 3 colors on them in the same positioning. So that's how I would do 1, 2, and 3 eyeshadows, and how I would build up the pigmentation and placement for those. For the lower lash line, you can use those same 3 colors, and I would recommend that starting off, you focus just on the outside third. Just like you only put the darkest color on your outside third on your upper lid, do the same thing on the lower lid, and go straight up to your lashes with the same little, I just keep it on the very end, go right up to my lash line, and basically just add a very small amount that I put on right there to give a little definition. So you can compare this eye that has that shadow right underneath, this one that does not, and it's still same colors. I'm going to do the same thing over here, get my freaking bangs out of the way, and I just go right up to my lashes and do very short back and forth right under the outside third-ish, and there you go. Now if I wanted to make this more dramatic without adding any more eyeshadows, my thing would be to add more mascara. So let me show you what that would look like. The formula of mascara will determine a lot about how the the mascara applies for you. And if you have short lashes, you might consider doing things like tubing mascaras or fiber mascaras or false eyelashes. I personally do not wear false eyelashes very often at all, unless someone else is doing my makeup or I'm feeling really, really confident, which is very rare. Another way you can keep your makeup from looking like too much would be to not put it on your lower lashes. It depends on the aesthetic that is pleasing to you, but sometimes it can make it look like you've got too much going on. But for me, this would be a very, very neutral look to wear. This is not a whole lot of color. It's not too much pigmentation, especially at a normal viewing distance. It just makes my eyes look a little bigger and more defined. And I'm going to show you my last favorite thing to do for eyeshadow if you want to add one more step. It would be to take the lighter shimmery color in this palette, or any palette. This one would be Funny Girl, which is, it's a shimmery color. You can see that shimmer there. And I like to tap it on my inner corners just with my pinky. So we'll put it right here, just tap, tap, tap. Add that little bit of shine. Tap, tap, tap. And you can do this step whether you're doing 1, 2, or 3 eyeshadows on your lid. It only took a second. It adds a little bit of light to that area, a little bit of reflectivity, and I think that's very pretty. So I sort of just cheated by taking you up to 4 colors on the eyeshadow looks, but I think this is a really basic understanding of just using very simple tools to apply your eyeshadow. I did mention that I got a very inexpensive eyeshadow brush kit. This here would be the blending brush. This would be the one you would use where your eye crease is, if you have an eye crease. This would be the kind of brush I would use to blend out the concealer for an all-over primer. This would be the kind of brush that I would use to pack on the color on my lid. This one actually looks very similar to the angle of this Sephora brush, which I would use again to just get in there for the angle of my crease and then to potentially blend out colors very lightly on my outer corners. This is what's called a pencil brush. You could use that instead of a brush like this for going under your lower lash line or doing any other detailed work. Instead of your pinky, you could use that to do this inner corner. This brush is more of a liner brush, so if you wanted to do liner with either powder or liquid or gel products, you could use that. And then this brush would be for defining your eyebrows. So I believe this was less than $10, and these would be, if you wanted to go out and look at a drugstore for these Wet n Wild brushes, they're very good. The e.l.f. brushes are pretty good. I would probably recommend these Wet n Wild ones over the Eyes Lips Face brand for inexpensive brushes. But just so you know, there are very affordable brushes if you really don't want to spend a lot of money, but you still want your eye look to be complete, have dimension, brightness here, a little bit of darkness here to build depth, and boom, you're done. If you want to amp it up without adding a lot of color or doing too much with eyeshadows, I would always recommend putting on mascara. There's just something about having full dark lashes. I tend to wear waterproof ones, but you can use just like this Essence one that I've been using here. This is not waterproof, so it's pretty easy to remove. And you'll have a full eyeshadow look. This again would be very neutral and easy to match with any lip choice you wanted, whether it's a lip balm or a full-on lipstick. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you actually learned a little bit about placement, tools, why to use a primer or not use a primer, and whether you can use your fingers or use brushes. Very simple, minimal number of tools, very simple, minimal number of eyeshadows. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you want me to get a friend in here, show you on different eye shapes, or any other questions, comments, concerns that you have. I'm Alicia. You're lovely. I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you the next time I turn on the camera. Bye-bye.